We can come to the rink and try and win championships, and that's what it's all about. When you look from the outside and you watch this team, I know we're going to have a real good, solid hockey team this year.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. Smash the thumbs up button. We're all super happy and excited. The Rangers just pulled off a blockbuster trade. Eric, what did Chris Drury just do?
He just fleeced the St. Louis Blues. He worked his magic. Still haven't seen that man make one poor decision in his time as the general manager. Maybe a couple are questionable, but this is up there for maybe one of the best ones. I love you, Chris Drury.
Some people refer to that man as the GOAT, and I might be one of those people, especially after this trade today for Vladimir Tarasenko. What a move. We just discussed the potential move for Vladimir Tarasenko on the channel a couple days ago. If you're not subscribed, make sure you go subscribe, because this is evidence that we produce some pretty awesome content, and we're super excited by this trade. We said it a couple days ago in that episode that we would love to see this deal happen. It makes perfect sense for the Rangers. It's exactly what they need, and little did we know, it was in the works. Chris Drury, maybe he watches the channel. Who knows? Maybe Drury is closely following our work, or maybe it's just kind of an idea that everyone had, and so we talked about it. But big time move right here by the New York Rangers. Of course, we're super excited. But Eric, what is your first thoughts, initial reaction to this trade?
I'm extremely happy. We kept saying for weeks on it, this is the season finale of the arc that we've been going down the last couple of weeks, where we're if we want to make it deep into the playoffs and have a chance at winning the cup, we really need to solidify the top six and pick up another right winger. And we discussed a lot of names. We put Timo Meier out there, Patrick Kane. Sadness, it's not going to happen anymore, but it's for the best. We landed a pretty solid top six winger who has won a Stanley Cup, so you got some nice experience right there, and he's still producing points.
He's still producing points. He's still playing at a really high level at 31 years old. But this was a big-time deal that had a lot of moving parts, a whole lot of trade compensation in this deal. Let's go ahead and rattle out the compensation for you guys. You've got the Blues getting a conditional 2023 first-round pick from the Rangers. Eric's going to give you the details on those conditions in just a second. The Blues also getting a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick, prospect Hunter Skinner, Sammy Blais. So long, Sammy Blais. Sorry you never scored a goal with the Rangers, but now hopefully you can go get one with the Blues. And here's a big catch here. This is a huge detail in the trade. The Blues are retaining 50% of Tarasenko's salary. Chef's kiss, Chris Drury. The Rangers getting Vladimir Tarasenko and Nico Mikkola. Eric, real quickly before we dive into the meat and potatoes of this trade, let us know what the conditions are of those two draft picks.
All right, so as for the first round conditional pick, it is that the first rounder will be later of two first-round picks, either the Rangers or Dallas's. If Dallas finishes with a top 10 pick, it will shift to next year and be later of those two. So the Rangers currently are in possession of Dallas's first-round pick as well as their own. So whatever one ends up being the lower of the two, that's what the Blues will be getting. And then as for the fourth-round pick, it will become a third-rounder if the Rangers make the playoffs this year. So, and chances of that happening were already it was going to happen, and now at this point I think we're pretty much clinched. Knock on wood though, Loki.
Yeah, and now I'm willing to make some bets, place some bets on it, guarantee it. I'll bet my Fireside Giants hat on the fact that the Rangers are going to make the postseason after this trade. I mean, this is super exciting, right, Eric? But there is another name involved with this. Now, we've discussed Tarasenko on the channel before. We think he's going to have a huge impact. You just said it. Having a top six winger, another right wing in the top six, this is exactly what the Giants needed, right? The Rangers needed. The Rangers needed. Sorry, just talking about my Fireside Giants hat. That's where my mind went. But this is exactly what the Rangers needed. Perfect deal to get done. 2023 season so far, he's played in 38 games, 10 goals, 19 assists, 29 total points. Does have a minus 18 on his stat sheet as well. We'll get into that in just a second. But throughout his career, you look at what Vladimir Tarasenko has accomplished: 644 games played, 553 total points. Like, the dude is a beast. You mentioned it. He's got playoff experience, has won a couple Stanley Cup finals. Great player, right? This is exactly what the Rangers need in a season. Experience, top 6 right winger to inject into those lines. But let's talk about the other guy involved in this trade. Not Sammy Blais. We'll say so long to him in just a second. But Niko Mikkola. Eric, what do you know about him? What does he bring to the table?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know much. When the trade details dropped, I was like, who? He's a pretty young defenseman. He's only 26 years old. In his career, he's only played in 139 games. But in those games, he's where am I reading? He's got 20 points and is a -12, so like not the best, but it's kind of one of those things that we were talking about yesterday as well. Looking at the defensive aspect, because we have Ben Harper down there on the third defensive pairing, and this guy Mikkola that we just got, I don't know if that's how you even say it. I don't know how he compares to Ben Harper. He could be better, so we might see him in the lineup replacing Harper, or we can just use him as a 7th defenseman to have, rotate through just in case someone gets injured. But it's a good depth pickup, so I can't really complain there.
Yeah, I'll throw out a little bit more info on Mikkola, 26 years old, as you mentioned, 3 assists / points and a +2 rating in 50 games with St. Louis this season. Ranks 3rd on the team in hits with 96, 3rd in blocked shots with 68, and has a 2nd most shorthanded time on ice on the club, 92 minutes and 34 seconds. He is a Finland native, has played parts of 4 seasons in the NHL, all with the Blues. He's collected 4 goals, 16 assists, 20 points in 139 games, as Eric just mentioned. Last season, he posted career highs in games played, 54, goals 3, assists 10, and points 13. He has also added 2 assists / points in 16 playoff games with the Blues over the past 2 seasons. 6'4", 209-pound defenseman, represented Finland at a variety of international tournaments, including the World Cup Junior Championship and World Championship, where he won a gold medal in 2019 alongside Capo Caco. So there's your debrief on the man himself, Niko Mikkola, right there. He was a 5th-round pick in 2015. Solid defenseman that I think we could definitely see get some playing time in the Rangers lines. You just mentioned, I think, that 3rd spot that we were talking about in yesterday's episode. I think we could see Mikkola fill that spot, and this is pretty cool because the 2 trades that we just mentioned over the past 2 days, one of them was Vladimir Tarasenko himself. The other one was, okay, how can we shore up that line, right against on the left side of the defense line of the 3rd pairing? How do we shore that up? Well, it looks like the Rangers just killed 2 birds with 1 stone here, and they got both of those things done. They got their top 6 right winger, and they got that defenseman to hopefully go in there and provide some quality ice time. So not much more you could say, except this is an awesome looking trade from the perspective of the New York Rangers, especially talking about Vladimir Tarasenko. So, Eric, before we get into say goodbyes to Sammy Blais, Tarasenko, where does he fit on this line, and what are you most excited to see out of him playing alongside those guys in the top 6?
Well, the way I look at Tarasenko, right, he's a pure goal scorer, in my opinion. He has one of the best, most accurate shots in the entire NHL. But he lacks a little bit defensively, as we see this season. He is a -18, and I'm sure a lot of that can be due to the fact that the Blues just aren't that good. I'm sure a lot of the whole team right there has a bunch of minuses. But it's still a little bit concerning. So normally I would say keep him away from the second line. Panarin and Trocheck haven't been the best defensively together. So adding a 3rd guy who might be a little bit of a defensive liability on that line, I don't think it'd work out. If I were Gerard Gallant right now, I would pretty much just rework the top 6 and have a first line of Panarin, Zibanejad, Tarasenko, and then have Kreider, Trocheck, and probably Kravtsov, I guess, at this point, playing on the second line right there, and then keep the kid line intact for the 3rd line. And I think that's a perfect top 9. The 4th line, it's interchangeable. Doesn't really matter. They're solid. But that's what I would do. I would put Tarasenko right there on the first line alongside Zibanejad and Panarin. 2 of the best goal scorers in the league with Zibanejad and Tarasenko, and then one of the best passers and playmakers with Panarin. I think that first line would just light up goalies all around the league for the rest of the season.
1,000%. And I'm also reading here on Twitter, a couple of sources are saying the New York Rangers might not be done. They might be in the market to shore up that 4th line as well. Now, this was their big splash move, but there's a couple names being thrown out there, and there is some rumors that the Rangers might be double dipping here at the trade deadline and going ahead and also adding to their 4th line depth. Now, let's put that into perspective, Eric, and do a little bit of speculation here. Now, we've reacted to this trade for the better part of the whole thing, right? We've discussed the picks. We've discussed Tarasenko, Nico, Mikola. We could get into Sammy Blais in a second. That can wait. Let's talk about the possibility of the Rangers making a second trade here. What would that mean for this lineup in your eyes if they were to shore up their top 6 right wing, right, with Tarasenko, then also get that defenseman that we talked about in yesterday's episode that they needed with Nico Mikola? Now, what if they go ahead and also add in some depth on the fourth line like we've been saying they needed to do all season? Where does that place the Rangers in terms of their race to go up and move into that contention for the Stanley Cup Finals?
I mean, it would be a big help. You know, we've been talking about all the different like cracks on the team, the problems that we needed to like resolve, and all of like the big ones we've already just hit with this trade. So now at this point, we've crafted like an almost perfect team, and just to add on to the fourth line, probably get like a better center, because outside of like Barclay Goodrow occasionally stepping in as the fourth line center right there, we haven't really found anyone who perfectly fits in right there. You know, we've experimented with guys like Carpenter as well that just haven't worked out. So it's kind of just like being a perfectionist right now. You know, it's like it wouldn't make the biggest difference, but every little bit helps. So if we were to go out and get a fourth line center, you know, there's names out there like Patrick Brown, Nick Bonino, all guys who have playoff experience and could like not produce a lot of points, but play like a nice, well-rounded, like grinded game and just make some big hits and make some big plays.
1,000%. Couldn't have been much better said, Eric. And I think that when you look at this is exactly what the Rangers need, especially if they do go out there and also add to that fourth line. It seems like pretty much Chris Drury heard our complaints. You know, we've said where the weaknesses were on this team. He probably saw it himself as well. And he heard the fans' complaints about it and just said, you know what? Let's go fix every single one of those positions, right? I think this is just exactly what you want to see a team do midway through the season, right at the trade deadline. Find those weaknesses and just suck them out of the lineup and throw it in with strengths. And now I think that the Rangers are going to turn some of these biggest weaknesses into some biggest strengths, which is huge. So before we go ahead and wrap this up, let's talk about Sammy Blais, because you just mentioned, the Rangers have experimented on the bottom of those lines a few times, right? Sammy Blais is someone who just never caught on. 0 goals in his career with the New York Rangers. Eric, what are your thoughts on Sammy Blais as he departs from the Rangers, with 0 goals scored?
I mean, it's disappointing, but I'm like kind of happy that it was him over a couple of other players like Kravtsov that could have been included in the package. We acquired Blais from the Blues when we traded away Buchnevich a couple of years ago, and I had high hopes for him. He was supposed to be like a nice, like quick, speedy guy, like probably playing in the top 6. And then, last season, his season was cut short with his ACL injury. And then coming into this season, he just never really found his game again with the Rangers. Like, didn't get that much playing time. So it's sad that his tenure with the Rangers went the way that it did. But, he's out of here. He's back with the Blues. Hopefully just being back on his original team on like a new atmosphere, he'll be able to find his game again. I wish the best for him, and just hope he doesn't get that first goal against us one of these days.
Yeah, could you imagine? That would just be hilarious. I mean, that's like classic New York Rangers thing to happen, right? Like, yeah. I could totally see that happening. So
he'll come out and score on us.
Yeah, right. He'll just have the game of his career. It's like Georgiev just going ape shit against the Rangers earlier this season. That was like one of the greatest goalie performances ever. And of course, that happened against the Rangers as soon as he departs from the team. But I mean, I guess that pretty much wraps us up here, Eric. I mean, add in any last thoughts that you have, but I think most Rangers fans are probably looking at this news and they're over the moon. This could be like exactly what the Rangers needed to propel them, from being, fringe postseason contender to being like legitimate Stanley Cup contenders, right? Like, this is exactly what this team needed in order to push themselves further into the postseason, was that top 6 right wing being shored up. And I think this was exactly it. I think this is it. So hopefully, we don't get disappointed here, but Tarasenko, especially considering they're not paying $7.5 million for him, they're paying half that. The Blues are retaining half that salary. That is huge news. That is why this deal got done. So really exciting stuff. We predicted that would have to happen in our video as well. We said that the Rangers can't take on the full salary, a little strapped for cash, but this move was pretty affordable. So now they might go ahead and double dip, as we mentioned, and find someone to throw into that fourth line. So really exciting stuff. Eric, any last thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just like a couple things. There's like 2 questionable factors about the trade that I kind of just realized. And I think the biggest one is the fact that, as we mentioned in the potential trade video. Tarasenko is a free agent after this season. So it's like, if he is a rental and we're not going to be able to re-sign him, giving up a first round pick is like a little scary because, you know, that could turn into like the next NHL superstar. But, you know, who knows what Chris Drury is thinking right now. Maybe he plans on re-signing him. Maybe he'll work his magic again and we'll be able to make a nice little short, cheap deal for him. The other thing that was just on my mind was just the timing is a little confusing as well. You know, the trade deadline is still coming up in a couple weeks, and the Rangers are pretty much the first ones to dip in and make a trade right there. And usually at the start of the trade deadline rumors, prices are usually set pretty high. So I wasn't there for the negotiations between the Blues GM and Chris Drury, but who knows? Like maybe if we waited a couple weeks and no one else was biting on the trade, we could have gotten him for a little bit cheaper. But at the end of the day, it is still insanely cheap for what we got him. So I guess I can't complain too much. Just had to play the devil's advocate right there.
Yeah, of course you did. Had to play the devil's advocate. Always raining on my parade, Eric. But no, this is not a parade that can be rained on. This is a huge moment for the New York Rangers. Super exciting. And I think all Rangers fans are probably rejoicing across the world talking about what a deal the Rangers just made. So let us know down below in the comment section how hyped you are about this New York Rangers trade, what your thoughts are on it, and answer this question. Does this trade make the New York Rangers Stanley Cup Finals contenders legitimately? I don't know. Maybe it does. I think there's a chance. So let us know down. I really think it does, man. This could be that move. This could be that move. So shout out to Chris Drury.
We're cooking something up.
Something's cooking. Let him cook. Okay. So that's pretty much all we have for you. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss a video because we got plenty more great videos like this coming out right here on Fireside Rangers. And we'll catch you all in the next one. Have a good one. And let's go Rangers.
The second greatest day of my life behind the day we signed Panarin.
And the day that we let Ryan Strome go.
Yes.
He shoots. Rangers.